Welcome to Elk is a house for human stories. It nurtures them, protects them, and welcomes more when the time is right. It's a game about life, loss, tragedy, heartbreak, and fear. However, it also inspires, uplifts, and entertains. Welcome to Elk is one of those games that just doesn't come around very often, and when it does, you should hold on to it because it's truly something special. Side note, this is also one of the first games I reviewed in 2020 that I got 100% of the achievements on. Even in Most and Peaky Blinders, I didn't get most of the achievements in one playthrough. It took me one playthrough and 10 minutes of another one to get that one achievement that you just don't know about until you look at the list and you're like, oh, dang it, okay. So yeah, it took about 3 hours, not 2, 3 hours and 44 minutes to finish and get 100%. Not bad if I do say so myself. I played this on Steam, but it's also available on Xbox. It's powered by the Unity engine, and I did have a few stutters and crackly audio for a bit, but nothing crazy or game breaking. You could just tell when it was like loading something in or something big was gonna happen. Welcome to Elk is made by Triple Topping Studios, based in Denmark, if I'm not mistaken. This is their second game, at least right now at the time of writing. They are working on another game, and I know I'm gonna butcher this. I think it's called Yinglet. At least, right now, it's not out. Their first game was Spit Kiss. It was a platformer about polyamory and love that's found in unconventional relationships. Welcome to Elk is a weird, tragic, yet comedic game about human stories. It's a biographical adventure set on an island unlike anything you'll ever see. Each hand-drawn, personality-filled, weird and wonderful character you encounter has a story to tell you. From the weird and wonderful to dark and desperate. All the tales told on Elk are based on true stories of a life on a road less traveled. It reminds me of another very underrated game that I happen to love that deals with telling stories, where the water tastes like wine. It's more of an experience than just like a game. If you've played it or you know what I'm talking about, then you get it. In this multiple award winner and 82 Metacritic score game, you play as Frigg, a young carpenter trading their busy life in the city for an apprenticeship in a small town. There's this constant feeling that Elk Island really isn't what it's made out to be, and there's something deeper below the surface. Not sinister, just something that we're not meant to understand. That being said, though, you do fall in love with Frigg, the island, and the people, even though you're there for such a short time. The minimal use of color kind of reminds me of Schindler's List. Now, calm down. For those who know what that is, you're looking at me side-eyed right now. Bear with me. I'm going to explain why it reminds me of that. Like in the movie, the interactable important events and characters are in color. In Schindler's List, the whole movie is in black and white except for when the color red, and the color red is used to signify important things, important people, important items, or things like that. This is what it reminds me of. The interactable objects are in color, the characters you talk to are in color, Frigg's dreams sometimes are in color, but aside from that, from something like Jeppe's funeral, the rest of the environment is just plain white. The buildings are plain white, unless there's a door you can go into. The vehicles around are plain white. Everything is plain white. It gives you that feeling of, oh, I can't interact with this anymore. So once you're done interacting with something, it goes white too. So that's like over. You can't go back and whatever that. Or if you don't want to compare it to Schindler's List, you can probably also compare it to The Saboteur, where the game is in shades of gray, except for, the important things, eye color, and all that. But I'm going to cover that in a future retrospective, so stay tuned for that. Throughout the game, you as Frigg encounter people that tell stories in video clips. The clips include Jan, Ingrid, and I know I'm going to butcher this, Lang? They're important people to the Triple Toppings team, and they are telling the rewritten stories, to you. They're kind of sections you meet. You meet them in the game as their avatars in game, and then it takes you to a video clip, and the stories are impactful, as are all the stories in this entire game. There's stories that you happen to experience in the game with the residents of Elk as well. And I say they're rewritten true stories as Not every story that Toppings collected can fit perfectly within the narrative they're working with, or information needed to be changed to protect certain people. They're tall tales based on the truth. You can also read the stories that Frigg finds in the bottles on their kitchen on the Welcome to Elk website, which isn't the same as experiencing it. Shh, go play this game. This is such a good game. Between the exploring and story sections, there are mini games, although not quite as many as Battletoads. They are all handmade and unique for the game, like the Balloonhead creator, where you make Anders' parents on Balloonhead. There's the karaoke night when you first get into town. Or, no, that's the dancing night. There's a karaoke night after that. There's a card game. There's making a squirrel trap mini game, just to name a few. They all fit within the story and they all help tell the story. In Welcome to Elk, there's also a very meta moment in Bow Manor when you hear the devs talking about a scene, and it causes Frigg to think they're losing their mind and they're going crazy. I have to say, another side note, even though Frigg is there to apprentice in carpentry under Jan, her dad's old friend, there's never actually any carpentry done. Even Frigg brings it up a time or two. The controls are super basic. So I played with a mouse and keyboard on Steam, and I don't know exactly what the controls are on Xbox. I'm assuming super basic as well. I think this was done on purpose, not to take away from a story being told with, memory controls and all that. There's just WASD space and escape for when you want to go back to the main menus and change things. Like I stated, this is a short game, 3 hours and 44 minutes it took me. However, that's not a measure for how good this game is. I think Welcome to Elk will stick with me longer than some of the 40+ hour games I've been playing lately. But honestly, I don't know if this game has any replayability. All the achievements can be played in one go. Nothing changes on a second playthrough, no difficulty, not gameplay, minigames, or nothing. The only reason to replay would be to experience the stories again. Sure, you can read them on the website, but it's not the same. Just playing and experiencing this little gem, there's something about it. Still, please, I would say, pick this game up if you want to support the devs, or if you're still hesitant, wait for a sale and pick up the soundtrack, because the soundtrack was mixed just for this game as well. Triple Toppings really put a lot of work into this little Welcome to Elk that, to be honest, I almost just went right past, but I'm like, nah, let me see what this is about, and I fell in love. Welcome to Elk is a game, and this is gonna sound weird, it made me feel human again. I know that sounds weird, but in 2020, this longest 10 years of our lives, I spent the year as a sword-wielding prince and his friends, a Nazi hunter father, and then a Nazi hunter sister duo, the Dragon of Dojima, an immortal detective sent to breathe life back into paradise, and so much more. Welcome to Elk, I was just Frigg, a person in a place unlike anything else, experiencing stories of the islanders and being taken on a trip. You can pick up this right now on Steam or Xbox, and I would say, honestly, it's probably going to be a game that sticks with you emotionally more than, oh, look at all this action. Pick it up and tell me what you guys think below.